Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Challenges and obstacles are a constant in our guest's life. She has been to 8 different schools. She left home at age 14 and had 2 foster children by 19. She's been in and out of hospital throughout the years with multiple surgeries and then went on to become an Olympic silver medalist. Please help me welcome to the live stream our good friend, Linda Holt.
Thank you, Daniel.
My pleasure.
Thank you for inviting me today.
This is an incredible story, and it's got to be told. So you've been to 8 different schools.
Yes.
What was happening in your formative years?
It just seemed to happen that way. But initially, back when I was younger, in the 70s, it seemed to be they didn't quite know what to do with disabled children back then. So I was pretty much put at the back of the corner, looking out the window for most of my year 1 to year 3. So then they moved me to another school to make up the 3 years, which I did, but then I had to repeat year 4. So I moved to another school. And then it's just constantly moving for one reason or another. And then I went to high school, and that was another school. And in one of the schools, it took me 3 hours to get there in the morning because I was on a bus with deaf children. So everyone in the bus was deaf. So I learned sign language really fast. And then 3 hours home. So that school didn't work out very well, but I did that for a year. So I just moved around, but it all worked out in the end. I got used to making new friends and adapting.
So the school system in the 70s weren't equipped to deal with people with disabilities. And for our audience to understand the disability that you have, what is it and how has it impacted your formative years?
Sure. Look, I have spina bifida. So I was born this way. Basically, my legs don't work. So I don't have any learning disabilities or anything like that. But they still didn't quite know what to do with me, I think. They were either scared or they just didn't know quite how to handle me. And to be honest, I didn't really push for it. I was happy to look out the window or just draw or do whatever I did. And it was only, 3 years later that we noticed I just wasn't going as fast as I should be. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was just the time, really. Disabled people were kind of put away and not really seen at the time. It's very different now in schooling. They're a lot more integrated. And even sports carnivals I wasn't involved in or any sports. I just go to the library or have that time off. Like they really didn't, even my whole year, every year, they just did not know how to integrate us into the group.
We're going to come back to a very hot topic in a moment, and it's the topic of you being a silver medalist at the Sydney 2000 Olympics. But I'm just hearing what you've said here. You couldn't participate in the sports carnival. So is there a connection between you missing out at school and then wanting to be part of it? Because, to achieve a silver medal at the Olympics is right there at the top 1% of your field. So what was happening there when you couldn't play sports, and what did that drive you to do next?
Well, yeah, exactly right. I think it did make a big difference. It actually around about the age of 9. It's a really important year for me. That's when I did join a sports club, a disabled sports club. So I found my people. I was accepted and motivated to do things and pushed to excel. So at 9, that's when I really got the love for sport and I took off. So from there, I just did sport forever after that. It's just part of it now. It's I did have a 20-year gap and I just missed it so much. I've now come back. So sport's pretty integral to my life.
So you've had these challenges at school. We're going to come to a moment and talk about your silver medal here at the Sydney Olympics, but you weren't allowed to play sports. But something else you said, which I found was fascinating, you said you caught the bus there with the children who were deaf and you learned sign language. What a skill to pick up.
3 hours.
So now you know everybody's secrets, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was a very hard bus, but I managed to still talk.
Amazing. One of the other things here that we mentioned here in your introduction, you also had 2 foster children by the age of 19.
Look, I've had a lot of things thrown at me, and I'm the kind of person that just says yes to everything and works it out as I go along. It wasn't something I was seeking to have. I had a friend in hospital at the time, and I'd met another lady there because she was in there long term, like months. When we were in hospital for a while. And it was her children. And I'd only just met this woman. And she was like, look, I desperately need someone to look after them. Can you look after them for a short time? Yeah, no problem. I looked after them. Initially, it was only going to be a few weeks. It turned out to be like 8 months to a year. It was a long time. But, you know, we went with it. The kids were a little rough around the edges at the beginning. You know, they'd had a hard life, actually. They were 8 and 10, but they were amazing kids. By the end of leaving them, it was really hard to say goodbye. But it was a learning experience, another one. And I love that.
What did you learn about yourself by having 2 foster children? What did you learn about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, well, you learn that you're not just on your own. You've got to think of others. I mean, which I did anyway. But, you know, I was responsible for them 24/7. I had to get them in school, and I was still studying. So I was learning to juggle. I was learning to be like a mum. I had to cook dinners for them and prepare lunches. And it was just a whole new experience that I hadn't done before. So I learned those things.
Amazing.
That was great.
Amazing. One of my clients there in Sydney, she was helping one of her clients recently, and both were blind, 2 blind people, and they were raising children. And it was quite interesting that for all the reasons why people said they couldn't have children, they couldn't raise children, they went against the grain and they did it anyway. Phenomenal parents and raising amazing children.
You absolutely can do anything. I'm a big believer in that. You just might do it differently, or you might need more help. And there is a lot of services out there that do help you. No one's really alone to do these things. But, you know, in my case, I'm born with this. So I either could have just sat back and did nothing, or, you know, felt sorry for myself, or I could have I had goals. So I went for them. And luckily I had a great support system. I had a great family. And, you know, we found the right services along the way. And then I excelled in the end. There's always big challenges.
Well, the topic today is about goal setting and about setting a goal and achieving it. So you've become a silver medalist at the Sydney 2000 Paralympics. What was the goal that you set, and what did the journey look like along the way to achieving your goal?
Well, the journey was a long one. I mean, like I said, since I was 9, but I got serious, obviously, as I got older. But I would train, you know, 8 sessions a week and worked a full-time job. So I worked hard for it, because being a disabled athlete, we also didn't get a lot of other support, you know, government support. We had to work full-time. So that was a big challenge. But, you know, I had the Paralympics as my goal. So that was what I was aiming for. So I did what I had to do. And actually, at the Paralympics, I was supposed to get bronze. That was what I had expected to go into. But luckily, I did really well on the day and got the silver. So that was pretty exciting.
So you've set a goal to get the Olympics. You were aiming at bronze and you hit silver. On the way to achieving your goal, what were some of the obstacles that you had to personally overcome before you achieved the goal?
One of them was just before the Paralympics, actually. They were possibly going to cancel one of my events. And in fact, another athlete was also in the same boat. So, you know, come time for selection, we didn't even get named in the team because they didn't know if we were going to have events. And all that training, you know, that was massive blow to us, that we'd trained all these years and that wasn't going to happen. Luckily it did. The other thing, you know, we had struggles with funding. We actually had, in Western Australia at the time, we had WA Sports Club had done a lot of fundraising for us. And the person in charge actually stole all the money. So going into the Olympics, the Paralympics, we had nothing as athletes. Everyone else got something. But yeah, so there was a lot of struggles that way. Not so much, you know, training was fine. I trained all the time. Funding would probably been the biggest challenge. And not getting the same benefits as Olympic athletes at the time. So like I said, I had to work a full-time job and train full-time. That was tough.
So you've set the goal, you're working hard, and then someone steals all the money.
Yeah, that was interesting. Weeks before we left.
A lot
He
of
went to jail and everything. It was pretty big, as you'd imagine.
a lot of the clients I speak to around the world, they set their goals and they don't plan for these things. You know, we plan that we're going to set the goal and everything's just going to be perfect. But when we start to move towards the goal, we start to have these obstacles. We have a series of internal constraints, and the internal constraints, I say, are our own mental and emotional blockages, our own limitations physically.
That's
But
right.
also there's external constraints, and this is a significant external constraint. Somebody's come along and stolen the money. How did that impact your plans and what you were moving towards? How did you pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and go again?
Look, being disabled, you always got challenges and obstacles and things happen, and we can't dwell on them. We can't let, and especially we're going into the Paralympics, we had to have our mindset really strong. So look, it happened. We still got there. We just didn't have, any funding, but we got there and competed, and you just have to put it aside. And like I said, it's things will happen, and if you let them get to you, that's when there's a problem. But if you can see a positive in it, like the positive was, I've still got to go, and it didn't hold us back. It didn't, it didn't cancel the games for us. It just meant it was just a little harder. But once again, what's hard for us? Everything is hard. Reaching something for me is hard. But it's just your mindset. You have to have a positive thinking and just keep the goal in mind. And the goal was to get there and do well.
For people who are setting goals and they're getting obstacles, what would you tell them when they start to face their obstacles? What advice would you share with them?
Well, I love goals. I'm very goal driven, and I'm always setting one goal or another. And like I said, you've got to be flexible. That's my biggest thing, really, being flexible, because you can set a path. You don't know where it's going to lead. So you may have to detour a little bit. Like I got sick and ended up in hospital. Like you don't expect that to happen. And so what you do is you just have to take the best of the situation of what you've got. So work with what you have, find the positive in it. There's always a positive there when you look. It might be a little harder to find sometimes, but you can always find a positive. And then reset the goal, change it a little bit, make it a bit longer if you have to. But as long as you get there in the end, that's really the important thing.
Mm. We talk about attitude as about our angle of approach, how we're approaching our goals. And one global statistic that I learned at a young age is that most people give up on their goals before their very first attempt. And so as a former Australian champion athlete, I know that I had a big goal. I know that I was going to fall down a number of times, but I didn't realise actually how easy it was going to be to get there, because most people give up. And so eventually the people who I used to compete against just didn't show up anymore.
Yeah.
And so there was very little competition. And I would say to people that I used to work with, they'd say, Daniel, you're so brave going in these competitions. You must be so nervous. I say, well, I'm only there competing against myself. I'm my worst own enemy. I've got to get over my own internal blockages here.
Exactly. And that's a good thing too.
Mm.
Your own self-doubt, your self-talk. I've had a bit of that.
One of my fears was the fear of getting hurt. So I'd go out, I'd go wakeboarding, and I'd say to myself, well, I don't want to get hurt today. Well, how do you get better if you're fearing about getting hurt? How do you get past that? If you're not willing to put your body on the line, you're not going to learn a new trick. And I was my own worst enemy when it came to training. And that significantly held me back, but it was my own attitude that I had to work on. But after years of falling down and getting back up, you start to develop resiliency. Yes. And I'm sure resiliency is a major part of your approach and your personality. So what does resiliency mean to you as an Olympic athlete?
Well, I think it also comes down to the fear of failure. No one wants to fail. But that, for me, is a learnt experience. I mean, we're taught to fear it. For me, failing is just another lesson. So if I don't do well, I will assess the situation and it'll be like, well, did I go out partying? Was it my lack of preparation? Or was it that, the person on the other side of the day was better? And then I'll just assess the situation and I won't let it get to me. I will, make the changes. I will always keep going, but I won't put myself down over it. I probably used to when I was younger, but I've learned along the way that, you've always got another go. There's always another time you can do it again. It's not the end of the world, and if you've put the preparation in, well, then that's the best you can do at the time. But it's always about self-improvement. It's always about, moving forward.
So it's 20 years on since the Sydney Olympics, and you've won a silver medal at the Sydney Olympics, and now you're making a comeback. So talk us through some of these pictures here and some of these early days of you training.
Yeah, when I was 9 or 10, I think I was quite young doing those. That was coming back from Birmingham, I believe. I was getting interviewed at the airport. Yeah, look, I started out, I said, young. I did all the training, and then I stopped. After Sydney Paralympics, I think I burnt out a little. And so I took a break, and then, I went and built a business and did some other things. And now the 20-year anniversary has come up, and now it kind of intrigued me again. And after I got sick, I was, building my strength back up and going to the gym and getting my fitness back. So I think that also was like, well, I'm training at the same level as I was training back then. Why not go back to the Paralympics? Well, attempt to go back and do some more. And then I've got the passion back, I think. And so now, I'm heading back hopefully to another Paralympics, be it the next one if I can, or the one after. I don't know, but I'm working hard and hoping to reach. That's one of my goals, so it'll be one I reach.
So you were planning to win the bronze medal, and then you got the silver medal. What type of emotions go through your body when you have that silver medal put over your head and rested down upon your shoulders, and you've got the silver at the Paralympics? How does that feel?
It was very exciting. I mean, it's not something you can compare it to anything else. There's nothing else in my life that I've done that's been as significant as the Paralympics for me. It's been such an integral part of me. So having that moment, it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience at the time, and hopefully it won't be a once-in-a-lifetime. But, you feel proud and excited, and it's just a lot of emotions going through at the time. But
coming into it the second time, and we're talking about goals, you've set the goal and you've achieved it. What will be the new challenges 20 years later? Because, by the way, Mike Tyson, he's making his comeback as well this year. Mike Tyson, they're all coming back.
They just keep coming back. Well, luckily for me, shot put and discus is an older person's sport. I might make another comeback if I stop again. Who knows? Track and swimming, they're like a lot younger people, and they don't tend to make the comebacks 20, 40 years later. But you don't know. I'm open to it.
Why are these two disciplines an old people sport?
Well, I think an old people sport. I'm not meaning to put it down. It's just strength, basically. Strength, you don't tend to lose your strength, or you can build your strength. There's not a lot of speed involved. Where I think with track and swimming, they're just the speed and they're super fit. And we have to be fit as well, but it's strength. And my strength just can keep getting better and better. So I think that's why I have the luxury. I can come back 20 years later.
Well, we can see you here in the gym. You're working out again.
Yes, constantly working.
What does it take to prepare yourself for the next Olympics?
Look, I'm still not where I need to be. I'm at the gym 4 times a week at the moment. I need to double that, if not more. I do some throwing training as well on the weekends. But with COVID, it's been a bit tricky to try and get training in. But luckily at my gym, there's not a lot of people around when I'm training. But so that's that. I train, and then, like I said, I work a business full time. So I fit as much training in as I can. But I still need to do more.
So you've got your training here, in which we can see you're working out hard. So you're doing this, and then you're running a business. Let's learn more about your business. What are you doing there, and how are you helping the community?
Well, with my business, I run an NDIS business. So I help disabled people in the community all around Australia. I do a lot of their cleaning or their yard work or support work. So taking people out, getting out and about in the community. So I do that obviously full time, and then train full time as well. That's pretty much all I do. But I love both of them, so I'm not complaining.
With goal setting, this is a very confusing topic for a lot of people because they set goals and they don't achieve them. And for a lot of people, setting goals comes with more pain than pleasure. So over years of training and setting goals, how do you approach your goal setting today? What are you doing differently today than you were in the past?
Look, with your goals, they have to be achievable. They have to be realistic goals. They have to be challenging, but obviously not crazy that you will fail, because you'll just set yourself up to failure. So for me, I think my goals are realistic. I believe I can make another Paralympics. So it's just about, like I said, being realistic. It really is. And then and also making smaller goals along the way. Like, there's a big goal. That's a long-term goal, but I have little goals along the way that I also want to achieve. So I think it's a stepping stone, and I think that makes it more achievable for myself because I tick them off as I go along. And then I'll reassess them too. If one of them's not happening for one reason or another, I'll work out why. And can I get there another way? Or do I need help to get there? So you work it out. And so it's not about giving up or like, oh, it's too hard, I just can't do it. It's about reassessing it and then making another plan or getting assistance to do it. Don't mean you have to do it on your own. So you can get assistance.
The topic of asking for help is an interesting topic in Australia. And for a lot of people that I've spoken to, they feel there's shame and embarrassment by putting up their hand and asking for help. And so they struggle in silence and they live a life of quiet desperation. What have you learned about putting up your hand and asking for help in your life?
Well, once again, I think the disability has helped me in that sense because I have to ask for help all the time. I can't go to a shopping centre without asking someone to reach something for me. Everywhere I go, I have to ask for help. So you have to put your pride behind you. But it's not even about pride. If you need help, you ask for it. It's because then you're still moving ahead. Because even though someone else can help you do it, you're still achieving whatever you're doing. If it's shopping, working, it's like with work. If you need an accountant, you hire an accountant. You don't have to do everything yourself. And so, I am always asking for help.
Well, I know a lot of Aussies who are asking accounting advice from their local mechanic.
Oh, yeah, no. You've got to look for the right advice and the right people to help you because you can get bad advice and lead you down another track. So, find the right advice or the right help.
You've got such an incredible story of resilience and overcoming obstacles. And I believe for a lot of us have a very simple, easy life, no major obstacles. But once we start to become ambitious and we start to set some goals, we have to overcome obstacles. And in Taiwan, where my wife's from, they call the current generation, these people who are around about 40, they call them the strawberry generation. And if you know about strawberries, if you touch it, it bruises. And so here they've had these wonderful lives. There's been little to no resistance. We've had these wonderful economic times. But they go out into business and they get their first rejection. They get their first knockback. Somebody touches them and they bruise. So they've got to learn resiliency at an older age. But you've learned resiliency at a younger age. Resiliency, how do you believe this has helped you achieve your goals?
Once again, I think, and my disability is, people think that disabilities can be a burden, but to be honest, it's really pushed me along the way. Everywhere I've gone, I've challenged myself, but I like to be challenged. I'm curious. I want to know if I can do better. I want to know what's out there. So resilience, it's just about keep moving forward. And then with anything I find, I've always said, just find another way of doing it, but still do it. So I'm bouncing back, I think, because you can get bruised, like you said, but it shouldn't stop you, though. There's lessons. There's always a lesson from something, I'm guessing. You got to learn what that was and do it better, do it differently. And, probably.
Words of wisdom from a Olympic medalist.
Yeah, well, I think my disability helped. It forced me.
Incredible. I want to ask you 5 quick rapid-fire questions. Linda, I know you're incredibly busy. You've got a strict training regime there. In your life, Linda, what frustrates you the most?
Look, we're still not quite seen as, being equal members of society. That frustrates me. It's getting a lot better, but that really is something that I hope we keep working on.
And what has been your most embarrassing moment over the years?
I've had a few. Not recently. I was racing to training and I fell out of my chair. Luckily, not many were around. It was like 6:30 in the morning, and I had to go ask for help again. Two people would help me back into my chair. That's a little embarrassing because I try and come across really confident and fine, and then I fall on my face.
Just tell them you've been drink driving, hey?
Yeah, they always test me.
As a athlete, as a business person, what book has had the most impact on your life, and why has it had the most impact?
Look, I'll be honest, I don't read a lot, unless it's a business book or a motivational book. I don't read a lot of them. But look, I'm always trying to self-improve. So I am reading one currently, and that's The Happy Gut by Reese Carter. And that's more about my gut health because I want to improve on that, and I want to improve my health in general. Mindset, body, everything needs to be healthy. So yeah, nothing that I've had inspired me along the way, but that's my current one.
Now, in terms of mental and emotional blockages, which mental or emotional block has held you back the most throughout your life?
It would be mainly in the early stages, not being good enough, and like I think a lot of people do have that. You just don't think, you can do anything, but I've had to change that and really push myself in my thinking. But yeah, that I'm not being good enough, or that I'm not good enough for whatever I do.
And if one of our listeners today was wrestling with that same mental block that I'm not good enough, what advice would you share with them for them to be able to overcome that limitation?
Sure. Look, one, that you are good enough. You have to learn that. We're all work in progress, though, so you might not be where you want to be, not be perfect, but work in progress, you will get there. I surround myself with really positive people because that rubs off on you. The people you surround yourself with, it rubs off on you. And then, just make the best of what I can with what I have.
Wonderful. Words of wisdom. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've been joined by Linda Holt today on the Accelerate and Multiply live stream. And this has been a story about resiliency, about overcoming the obstacles and achieving your goals. As we said early on, Linda's early days, she'd been in and out of 8 different schools because they didn't know how to handle disabilities. She would catch the bus to school with children who had hearing impairments, and she learned sign language on the way through. By the age of 19, she's a mum to 2 foster children, and she's gone on, worked, got them to school, and then gone on to become a silver medalist at the 2000 Sydney Paralympics. And she's back in the game, training and ready to take on the world again for the next medal. And what colour's the next one going to be, Linda? Gold, silver and bronze. What are you aiming for this time?
There is nothing wrong with silver or bronze or any of them. Gold would be lovely. But you know what? I'm happy being there. Like, second in the world was nothing to sneeze at.
It's absolutely incredible. Well, let's give her a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Linda Holt, thank you for joining us. And thank you for sharing your wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to seeing you again soon. Have a wonderful day. Ciao for now.